All right, welcome back to another episode of the Cybersecurity Mentors Podcast. I'm here with Cecilia Marinier. Cecilia, just tell us who you are, who you're with, what you're about.
Absolutely. So I am currently running the Innovation and Scholars Program at the RSA conference and RSAC, the larger company. My background is I did undergraduate, because this is aimed at all different kinds of people, with political science and psychology, which is so crazy, right? I did my master's in public affairs, and I worked for a long time on national security issues. So when I was moving to a new career path, I wanted to go to a place where I could actually use some of the great connections I had made. At doing the consulting work with the IC and also looking at what's happening in the future. It's always about what's going on in the future. And the future is bright for cybersecurity. It's changing, but it's very, very bright. And so when I got the opportunity to work at RSA conference back in 2014, I started with their innovation Sandbox program. And then also, because John, you mentioned you do B-sides, I brought in villages. So for the past 12 years, we've also had DEF CON villages coming to RSAC just to give a sampling of what's happening in the marketplace so that people who come to the RSAC conference can actually see what they might have missed and maybe get excited about going to DEF CON in the end. And the last part that I'll say is I work with security scholars, which I think is also really special. And it's a high connected tissue point for you and your team and your audience. So we believe that the next generation should be exposed to what's happening in the industry. The industry is growing. So those of you that aren't familiar with RSA conference, it's the largest cybersecurity conference. It's the oldest cybersecurity conference. It happens in San Francisco in springtime. This year it will be April 5th. And what we wanted to do, the way it got started so many years ago, was because we needed to have all the stakeholders at the table talking about the problems that are happening in the industry. And that includes people from the government, people from the private sector, people from the public sector and nonprofit world and academia. And so about 12 years ago, I also started this thing where I wanted to reach out and connect to universities across the country to help them identify future thought leaders. And from there, they said to me, well, you got to open this up to everybody. So what we did was we actually have one day that's free at conference for college students. So anybody that has an EDU email address is allowed to come on Thursday of conference and take part in all of the great content that we have there. So it's a big conference. As I mentioned, it's 45,000 people. I think there's like over 750 speakers. There's 600 or 690 vendors. I mean, it's a big conference. A lot of fun. You'll get to see a lot. So I'll stop
Yeah.
there. That's my
No,
background.
that's thank you. That's awesome. And you mentioned your major with psychology, and if I were to go back, I thought about getting a degree in psychology. I was like, I think that would be interesting. I'm curious how how that's been for you. Has that helped you with that background, and just like, and how has it helped you?
Well, that's a great question. Because I talk to a lot of the students, and many of the people feel like, oh, I'm so technical. But actually, cybersecurity is a field where almost any discipline can take part in. And this way that psychology works, and the reason I love cybersecurity, because we did all sorts of case studies when I worked for the private boutique consulting group, everything from the Afghani army and the Pakistani army all the way over to the Haqqani network to Mexican cartels. But cybersecurity was always a passion because it was some place where I could really see the tapping into the two sides, the technical side where you might be able to see a signature of your adversary, but you
Hmm.
also need the psychological side, which is like, why are they doing this? And that's where you have this nice blend of getting the different perspectives, to come together and to actually look at how to solve the problems that are coming at our industry, because it's not going to be an easy silver bullet. That's super complex, and you need to have friends that have all different ways of thinking about what, when, why, how, when they're trying to solve the problem.
Yeah, so I guess that's what you've seen just in this career, and basically what we call the soft skills, right? Being able to understand how people are thinking, why they're thinking what they're thinking. Obviously, from us, the target and social engineering side of things.
Yep.
But yeah, what do you see if you were to recommend a college student? Like, hey, I want to get into cybersecurity, and I'm thinking I want to do maybe a major in computer science, but maybe a minor in psychology. Just in general, what would you recommend?
So coming with those two backgrounds, you're actually, it's a really strong set. And that is kind of where you sit down and I think of threat intelligence. And I think of, like I have a Selena Larson is in my head that's coming back, or Andrea Little Labago. Those two women are brilliant. Both have that kind of a background where they have the technical depth and understanding of like how the computer signatures might work, but they also
Hmm.
really understand the context, the geopolitical environment, so there you can marry those pieces together. What about you, John? Where do you think those two go? And what was your background? Were you a
Well,
computer science guy?
computer, yes, and I thought I wanted to be a computer engineer, and then it was way too much math. But I mean, we preach like about just how much communication, how important that is, and also business skills when we talk about this on the podcast, and definitely talked about you can't, if you can be very very technical, but if you can't communicate the risk or communicate the impact, then you're really gonna be hamstrung. So we talk about that a lot, and also just in general how to relate to others, how to build your network, right? How to just
Super important.
yeah, build that and connect and use your tribe, use your community, and don't neglect that, because there's definitely people that they're just like, well, all I have to be is just the most technical person,
Right.
right? So yeah,
It helps. I'm not going to lie. Being
yeah,
technical helps. But
yeah.
I think, you also mentioned before we jumped onto this that you work with B-sides. And on the college day morning, we always do a breakfast panel where we have CISOs come and talk and tell us, what are you thinking about for the future? How can students
Hmm.
get more prepared for a career in this? And one of the places that always comes up is looking at ways that you can volunteer more. You have to build your network. I mean, this is a very tight community. Once you break in, you're like able to get more opportunities along the way. To break in, it might be hard if you're just a piece of paper. So, how can you also be blending that with some other pieces? And that's by going to B-sides or things that are local. They don't have to be expensive. Your university likely has a cyber club. You can look at the Cyber Patriot, which is the government's CTF. Like you can be playing CTFs across the board. I know Seesaw actually does it too. They have quite a few different gaming, and you can make yourself more uh, like known in the industry
Hmm.
through that piece as
Yeah,
well. Like just taking part in these kind of more open, competitive environments if you're in the technical side.
yeah,
But
yeah.
networking is number one. It's so
Networking
key.
is king. We say that all the time.
It is.
Yep, absolutely. Well, let's talk about innovation. There's a couple of things, I confess that I have not been to RSA. I'm sorry. I will go. Right? I
He's
want to
coming
go.
next year. You
I'm
can all
coming.
come with him. We all
That's
can
right.
meet John at
That's right.
RSA conference
Let's
next
go.
year.
Let's go. But there's two pieces here, and this may have changed, but just talking about the innovation showcase and the innovation sandbox. So tell us a little bit about that. What are those?
So the Innovation Sandbox is the industry leader of identifying the technology that people are going to be looking at. So this is looking at the most innovative startup every year. You have to have a product that just came to market within the last 12 months. The way that you get on that stage, if you're an entrepreneur, and I highly recommend if you're an entrepreneur to start looking at it. If you're not ready, wait a year, but submit. But the way that you think about it is that it has brought in names that you've heard of before. I would say, Imperva or Wiz or Cato Networks or some of them that have been bought, like Talon Security was bought by Palo Alto Networks. There's Exonius, which is also one of the big names. Sentinel One, you might have heard of. All those companies actually were on the stage back when they were really small. So it's a contest that we've really been able to hone in on how did we we do the process of community-led selection by identifying 5 key judges that represent different parts of the industry. One is going to be in banking, one is going to be in a CISO, one is going to have national security. So you have to take a look. But these guys all look through all the submissions, and then they identify 10 companies that they think are going to make a difference in the market in the next 12 months. That is the Innovation Sandbox. And from that, we've actually built out Launchpad, which is also another contest at conference, which is aimed at even earlier seed companies that may not have a product to market, but a good idea. And it's more like a Shark Tank because we only have venture capitalists that are looking through your pitch deck. And then the Innovation Showcase, because of COVID, and we all know that trauma, because I certainly remember it, we weren't able to get together in person. And so what we had to do is to start thinking about like innovation can't stop. We need to be still fostering it. And RSA can provide a platform for all of these entrepreneurs to reach this audience. So Innovation Showcase was that answer to that. And we partner with a venture capitalist, a group of venture capitalists every month. And we put together a session where it's like, 15 minutes of just a talk to kind of like level set on what is the actual solution area that we're looking at, and then you'll hear from 2 different companies that are focused on that area. And it's great. It's gotten a nice little audience that comes through, and you can always hear about what's coming up. So it's something else
Yeah.
you can pay attention to, and it's on our website all the time. So
Yeah, no, thank you. I have a question related around your thoughts on innovation, but I have had at least one experience where it's kind of been a little bit of a Shark Tank where a bunch of CISOs, and I've been one of those CISOs, and they come and pitch their product and what it is and why we should care. And it was fun. I had a great time.
it is. It's that's
Yeah,
the thing is we want to make it fun. It is a
yeah,
show,
yeah.
but it's also, like I said, it has been very important to recognize that the track record speaks for itself. So obviously, whatever's working in with this model has been able to surface these companies that are really interesting. But we do have to have a CISO like you because honestly, you guys know what you need. You know what the problem set is. You know what really might fit into a stack and how it can actually be implemented. And it's like that voice needs to be on that panel because otherwise it doesn't really hold up all the way through. But it also has the entrepreneur. Like it takes a lot to build a company. It's not
Yeah.
something that especially right now, that things are changing so quickly, and people have to have confidence that that company is not just going to be bought 6 months from now. It has
Hmm.
to be that if I'm going to put that in my stack, it's got to be in my stack because maybe I worked with Cisco and then
Right.
all of a sudden it's been bought by Palo Alto and then what happens? So
Hmm.
so it's all of these kind of questions that you have to be asking when we go through the actual. You have to come, John. It's on
I
Monday.
will. I
Always.
will.
You got to get there early, so you can't miss it.
Okay.
It's Monday.
Well, and I was just at, Black Hat. We talked a little bit about that, and on the floor, everything has been for a while, right? Is AI,
Yes.
AI, AI, AI.
Oh,
And I actually just had a great conversation with a company, a newer company yesterday, and they were telling me they're giving me their stuff, they're showing me what they're doing, and I liked it. And their question to me was just, well, how do we differentiate ourselves? So that innovation part of it since you've been involved, like what do you think are the things that hit so that the ones that win those competitions, and I know it's probably based off of that current trend and what the need is at that time, but how do they stand out? How do companies stand out?
it is really hard to rise above the noise, and we're in a very unique place where there's some concerns that with the new latest, one of the frontier AI groups putting out their next product, it
Hmm.
might be that you've been working on something that can now be solved by,
Yeah.
Anthropic.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a part of like making sure that you're different. What we've discussed is the moat is changed. It's not just speed to market with a solution, it's actually building out a customer base that's unique or using a vertical industry that is specific to what your need is. And so for example, like really honing in solely on medical
Mm.
and
Your
getting to be
niche.
the perfect solution for that particular problem. And that can change in like another 8 months. But because there's been so many new things unraveling as we've gone through the first year since we've heard, I mean, at conference, there was one thing, and like I think 2 weeks afterwards was when Mythos came out. You're like, oh my goodness, this is like a completely new model and a completely new like it disrupted the market. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
And that's actually fun because it gives a lot of opportunities for people to reinvent on something new. But it's also a little unnerving because you're like, okay, well, where's the industry going?
Yeah. Yeah. So just in general, like if you see something, is there anything that flags it, that makes something innovative? Like how are there markers for you that you're like, wow, this is unique? And is it maybe just that what you said, just they have focused so much on their niche, they know their niche very well, they know the need very well, they know exactly what that is and how to meet it? Is that mostly kind of what you've seen, or is it a mix?
Yes, you're going to need to have it's better to work with a design partner and have them help you define what it is, but it can't be completely just for that person. Like I can't make a product just for John, even though John is like, yes, I want that product just for me. It has to have a little bit broader scope, but the reality is like starting here and getting a couple of customers where you're testing the market and checking out and making sure you're in the right place. That would be my first, that would be my first guess of how to actually get started on that. And then just keep on building and testing it with other people and testing it in front of venture capitalists and testing it, like you have to keep on testing along the way to ensure that you're still on the right path. And the other piece is you have to be flexible because this market's moving. So pivoting is going to be like, having the stamina to pivot in the middle of what you're doing is actually also a great quality for an entrepreneur and something that I'm guessing. And I've talked to a couple of the venture capitalists and they're like, definitely recommending that is like this capability to say, okay, this is where it's at, move it over here. Let's go and see how to solve that, how to, add to this problem over here and make it better.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Let's talk about Security Scholar. So this is getting down the path that I'm definitely near and dear to me, and working with students and college students and just in general helping those look to get a career in cybersecurity. But tell us a little bit about Security Scholars.
So I want to talk about both the Security Scholar and the College Day because I think that when we started this conversation, you were talking about how people might be coming in from outside the industry.
Yep.
And so I want to make sure I cover both. So Security Scholar is looking at just universities, four-year universities, identifying, bachelor's, master's, or PhD students to come to conference, and we give them a curated week, and it's crazy fun for them because we're having them sit next to some of the industry legends for dinner, and we're giving them a closed door experience with General Nakasone, and overall, like once you become part of it, you're part of the alumni. They also get to showcase their work, so they can put up a research poster. So on Wednesday at noon, we usually have the students, who want to submit their posters, and then our whole industry can walk around and ask questions to them. It's really fun for them. On College Day, this is where it's not just somebody that's at like a four-year university. It could be somebody that's taking training classes at your community college. It could be somebody that's going through SANS. We just let people who are open and interested in the industry come to talk to us and see this. And I'm going to give you a great story about another guy named John that I love from this year's College Day. So John Strand is a good friend of mine. And he runs Black Hills Information Security. It's a training company, and John is salt of the earth. Like that guy is so solid, and he's just the best person ever. And we were at the I was on stage. We had just finished the conversation with a couple of our sponsors, and then we're getting off. And I had this gentleman who was waiting for me, and I was just catching up with John. Like we were talking about our kids, and this guy was waiting, and I thought he was waiting for John because John's a rock star. Like once you get over there, you'll have to meet him. And so he and I are talking, and the guy says, "Well, I actually wanted to talk to you. I wanted to ask you, I'm coming in from outside the industry. I've been working in healthcare for a while and I had to take some time off with my parents because one of them was very sick. And he said, and I'm trying to take classes at night and it's getting really hard. And John Strand like was listening to this guy talk about it and he's like, how would you recommend that somebody like me gets involved and gets into the industry? And so I was going back to what I told you in the beginning, like, let's go to B-sides or whatever. And in the meantime, John is in there and he's picking up his card and he hands it to the guy and he says, here, take my card. My name is John Strand and I run a training company and there's 120 classes on my website. And you let them know that I said it was okay that you take any of those classes. And if you pass those classes, I will write you a letter of recommendation. And I was crying. I was like, oh my gosh. But that's what it is. Like this industry, the people are so good and they're so willing to help each other stand up and get there. So I found that super inspirational. I hope your audience finds it as
Yes.
inspirational because it's just beautiful. And I think that there's no time when you get in, there's no time why you get in. The other thing I would say is about artificial intelligence, because that question came up probably about, 90% of the questions that came from the students were like, oh my gosh, how do I get in when they're like talking about how artificial intelligence is taking over that first tier job?
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's really hard. And we're all like going, oh my gosh, if we don't get people in that understand that first tier job, how will what's going to happen to the next job? Like, how would they
Right.
get there?
Right.
So I had the CISO at Walmart and McDonald's both like say to the whole crowd, not me, but I was there. They were saying, "Hey, you know what? This is moving so fast. I'm forcing all my own guys to be on there trying out artificial intelligence, testing the models, and learning about how to use them because what is next step is going to be is how fast can I integrate some of the
Hmm.
capabilities that AI has and become even better and smarter and faster at solving some of these security problems. And I thought that was incredibly solid advice. So that's another thing. Don't be afraid. Like, make it part of your day and figure this out. And it's not if I can code in Claude, you can code in Claude.
Yeah, no, and last spring semester we had students that graduated, and they, and compared to the last year, they weren't getting as many offers as they had, right? And I talked to some industry folks. I was like, well, what's going on? They're just like, well, we're watching and trying to see how everything's shifting, and it's moving so fast, as like you said, and that's obviously that's discouraging for some of them, but I think it's going to come back and it'll come around, right? I think
It
as
will.
people figure this out and they're like, hey, we don't need, it's not that we don't need people. We just need people that know how to help utilize those tools and help us do it faster and integrate. So I have said similar, just like, look, I definitely recommend you learn the tools, you use the tools, you understand it. I did a whole episode on how AI is not making less work, it's making more work. Right.
Yes,
I'm doing
exactly.
more AI governance and using AI to attack and to defend. Like that, it's not like I got less to do. I literally have more to do. But you definitely need to be, and it's great because you can go spin it up, you can start using it, and I definitely recommend that you do. There's no really manual on how to learn it as far as like, well, here's what you need to know for security, but you definitely want to be informed and start using it for projects and DIY type things. So I definitely agree.
So one other thing I'll point to, as I talked about earlier with the villages, so we had Jason Haddix. I don't know if you know who he is, but Jason's awesome, and he actually gave like a mini lesson on a virtual event that we had, and I would highly recommend just going and checking that
Okay.
out. There's
Yeah.
plenty of good content
Yeah.
everywhere. This is I just know it because I was sat on this thing and I was listening to it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Plus, Jason is just also rock solid too. So,
Yeah.
both good people. But I agree with you, John. That's very good advice you're giving out.
Yeah. And just on, and I agree with you as well. And we talk about this a lot, just career. A lot of folks that are interested in this career, they're intimidated, which, warranted. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to it. And if you've not really been in those roles or been in IT even, um, any other advice for those folks?
Um, So there are many careers in cybersecurity, and it's not all about learning about the technical part. So if you care more about privacy and keeping people, there's a balance between security and privacy, for example, and making sure people are safe, but also making sure people are able to hold their own privacy. There's whole industry swaths around that kind of topic, and there's conferences around that. I think it's like finding out what it is that drives you. Like, what do you love about this industry? And a lot of people find it in other ways as well. So that was one part in the like, more legal side of it. There's other people that are involved more, as I talked about earlier, in the threat hunting side of it. There's more people that are involved more on like doing GRC and policy
Hmm.
and making sure that the governance is right on it. And this is huge. You talked about that
Hmm.
earlier. Right now, that's exploding with AI. So, I mean, I guess it's really about what drives you and finding out that piece of it. The other thing that I think there's a woman who wrote a book, Alyssa Miller. I don't know if you've ever, um, I think it's called the Cybersecurity Guide to. I should find that out and I'll send it to you afterwards. But in it, the other thing that she does is she helps you kind of really. She gives you good advice. She says, go read the newspaper,
Hmm.
take 10 articles and find like why would you read that article on cybersecurity? And once you start to see a trend of like, okay, this is what I think is interesting, or oh wow, that's kind of fascinating, then that kind of helps you identify it. But she also takes your other skills. Like sometimes you're sitting there and you're going, I don't know how to tie in my barista experience, but she does. And what she tells you is like, hey, you learned how to multitask, and that you
Hmm.
need all the time in this industry. And you learned how to serve a client. That was like also something you need, like you were talking at the very beginning about the soft skills. So those kind of things I would also recommend students to start to really ramp up on as they start to think about how their experience fits, what they're interested in, and then how to
Yeah,
get to the skills that you don't have. Like you might not have some of those skills. How can you get them? Or how do you get some experience? Sometimes it's volunteering at your local, nonprofit and saying, I'll help you build your security network. Lots of opportunities. You just have to be
absolutely.
creative about getting there.
Yeah, and there's a talk about the talent shortage versus opportunity. I mean, there is a need. We still need
Yes,
people. We need people that are passionate, that want to be here, that are
right.
looking to grow in this industry and really love it. Like I mean, I love it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I believe you do too.
Yeah, it's purpose
Right,
for me. Like I
right,
believe I'm doing some good for the world
right.
by what I do.
Yeah. Well, on that note, a big question: what makes you excited or optimistic about the future of cybersecurity?
Wow. That is a big question. What I'm really excited about right now, as our CEO has mentioned often, and we just almost started with it, is the link that's happening right now as the disruption has happened with artificial intelligence. It's changing the entire marketplace. So everything you thought you knew,
Hmm.
you don't. So you have to kind of go back and rethink anything. And that it makes me excited because I do know there's so many good, passionate people that are going to be working on solving this problem, making AI safe for us, as well as using it as a tool for productivity and keeping things more secure. But on the other side of it, like we're on the cusp, everybody's talking about quantum. And I am like, oh, come on, people, we need to slow down just a little bit. But I feel like the thing is, everything's changing all the time. And you don't know what the reason is. You're just kind of having to grow all the time. You can't stay still. This is not an industry that stays still. You
Yeah.
stay still. Your adversaries are not staying still. You got to get in there in the fight and make it happen. So it's kind of fun for that. How about you? What do you think is exciting about
Yeah.
this in
I mean,
right
if it
time?
was, well, I think that I would be bored if it was just stagnant and the things were just the same, you know?
Right.
Um, I love that things shift. Maybe when, I get a little older, I might be tired of it. But I love that it changes and that there's a new challenge. And so there's something new to learn. You have to be nimble and flexible to be able to want to go learn that thing. And I love that. I love having something to go dive into and get involved with. And like you said over and over, just the people, right? Just
Yeah.
the people are really really are awesome. We're in it together. We're trying to help each other. We're fighting the good fight. And there's continued purpose. Whenever I'm a weird person, right? So whenever bad things happen, like an incident's happening, that's what I'm here for, right? I put the helmet on, I'm ready to go to battle, right? And so,
Right.
like, that's why I got into security, is to fight the bad guys. And it can be a pain. It can definitely be, the aftermath can be painful and everything, but that's what you're here to protect. And nobody may know that. They may not know who you
Right.
are and what you're doing. But that's okay. Right.
I love that you're kind of ending on that note, because it is an industry that's a little hard for the fact that mostly you get recognized when things go badly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also an industry that because of that, the people who are in the industry recognize that they need to lift each other up, and they'll be there
Yeah,
for you. They got your back,
absolutely.
and you can always
Absolutely.
call somebody. So call John. I want you guys to.
I'm here. I'm happy to help. Yeah. I
I
know I'll
love
be
it.
there. I'll be in the trench, one day, and I'll need help. So definitely, if I can help, happy to do it.
Me
Yeah.
too. Awesome.
Well, thanks. Yeah, thank you so much. This is great. I learned a lot, right? And I need to get to RSA, right? So
Yeah.
anybody wants to sponsor me, I'm just putting the word out there, hook me up. But
That's
yeah,
great.
but thanks. Yeah, thank you
Absolutely.
for coming.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. See you, everybody.